In Iron Man 1, he faced betrayal by Obadiah Stane. In Iron Man 2, he faced the wrath of Ivan Vanko. In the Avengers, he fought against an unimaginable foe in Loki and the Chitauri. But now, is Tony Stark about to face his greatest threat yet? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kabiga's Reviews, and these are my thoughts, my opinions and my review of Iron Man 3. Directed by Shane Black and starring Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, Don Cheadle as James Rhodes, Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, Ty Simpkins as Harley Keener, Sabine Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, Guy Pearce as Aldrich Killian, and Rebecca Hall as Maya Hansen, among others. Plagued with worry and insomnia since the Battle of New York, Tony Stark is now more dependent on his Iron Man suits than ever before, so much so that every aspect of his life is affected, including his relationship with Pepper. After a malevolent enemy known as the Mandarin reduces his personal world to rubble, Tony must rely solely on instinct and ingenuity to avenge his losses and protect the people he loves. Alright, let's get this out of the way right away. I'm not a fan of Iron Man 3, but it's probably not because of the reasons that you might think. A lot of people hate on this film because of the Mandarin element, and we'll get to that later on. But for me, it's the film overall. I'm going to score it right now as 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I'll score it again at the end of this review, but it really is not my favourite MCU movie by a long shot. Now, my son absolutely loves it. He loves all the suits, he loves the action sequences at the end, particularly where Tony's jumping from one to the other. And I have to admit that the action sequences are great. There's some really great set pieces in it. But the film overall, for me, just didn't work. And director Shane Black, I have a lot of affection for him. I first saw him when he appeared in Predator, and I've liked a couple of the things that he's done since this and The Predator that I believe he did recently. So, you know, I do have respect for Shane Black. I've got nothing against Shane Black. I know he's done lots of other stuff besides these. But for me, Iron Man 3 just didn't float my boat, okay? However, one thing I respect a lot about this film is how it tackles PTSD, mental health and trauma. And that is the great selling point for me on this film. That is the only thing this film does really well. It opens up and it starts with a voiceover from Tony Stark, and he's talking to what we think is the audience, us as the audience. And then he goes back and it's got a drop of blue by Eiffel 65, and it goes back to New Year's Eve in 1999, and that's a great callback. I did enjoy those scenes, and you get to meet Jensen. You show him where he met Jensen, and that's a callback to the first film where Jensen says, "Oh, we met once before." So it shows that meeting and how dismissive and arrogant Tony is. But you know, that's nothing new, because at this point we've seen Tony Stark in 4 movies, so we know what he's like. We know what kind of arrogance he used to have, and we've been on the journey that's changed him and brought him to this point, because he's been through lots of traumatic events. He's been through the betrayal of Obadiah Stane. He's been through the betrayal of his father. He thought his father didn't love him or have any affection for him, but he learned differently, and he also faced consequences of his father's actions with Ivan Vanko. Then, of course, the Avengers. Chris Evans, Steve Rogers even, Captain America, says to him, "You're not the guy to lay down on the wire to let the other guys crawl over you to get away." Basically, he was saying that Tony is not the guy to make the ultimate sacrifice. However, at the end of the Avengers, he did. So he risked his life to save the world, or to save Manhattan at least. And, well, no, I suppose it was the world, because he took the nuke up and stopped the Chitauri. But it could be argued that Black Widow actually saved the world, because she was the one who closed the portal, not Tony Stark. But that's another story. That's for the Avengers. We've all seen the Avengers. If you've clicked on this video, then this is the 7th video in the series. This is the first video of Phase 2. Phase 1's done, ended with Avengers, and now we're moving on. And this film deals with the consequences of that. Tony even says, you go through things you can't explain, and he can't get over them, you know? He can't sleep, and he's paranoid, and he's so consumed with fear and uncertainty because he's seen a bigger threat. He's seen things his brain and his mind and his soul can't comprehend, and he wants to protect the world. He wants to build a suit of armor around the world, which is something that will come into play later on down the line. But he wants to protect the ones he loves, and this is why he's so focused on building all these suits, these Iron Man suits. He wants to have a suit that will do everything because he's basically panicked. And I love little Harley Keener, played by Ty Simpkins, who triggers his PTSD and triggers his panic attacks because he's trying to help him and he's trying to be there for him. And I absolutely love those scenes because they're so well played. Robert Downey Jr. and Ty Simpkins absolutely nailed it. You know, I mean, we think of Tony as this happy-go-lucky, you know, he's suave, he's funny, he's sophisticated. But Tony Stark is totally different in this film. Totally different. And Robert Downey Jr. plays it so well. And I think the very fact that he's got Harley there to bounce off, because he's an innocent kid. He doesn't know the difference. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying to help his hero. He's trying to help Iron Man. You know, but he doesn't realise that he's pushing his buttons and he's you know, making Tony panic. But it just, there's a great little relationship there and a great little bond. And I think it helps Tony to deal with his trauma and his PTSD through this kid, through the eyes of the child, because he ends up, you know, picking up ideas from him and getting, you know, he gets help from him. But I mean, that's just part of the film, and it's part of the overall way that this movie deals with mental health, which is something I genuinely believe in and genuinely support, is positive mental health. And you've got to 100% look after that mental health. And this film does it brilliantly, how it illustrates that even the greatest of us can suffer from agonizing depression and anxiety. And thumbs up from me for that to Shane Black and everybody who worked on this film. So let's move on. That's what I liked about this film. What I didn't like about this film is it just didn't have the power and pizzazz, other than what I've already said, of what had gone before. And maybe for me, it is because it followed the Avengers. Really, that was such a great spectacle of a film. Anything that followed it was going to feel lesser. But it just felt generic. And that was the problem for me. All right. Now, the Mandarin, okay, played menacingly by Sir Ben Kingsley, is really good until you realize the twist. Until you get to that twist, then it's just a goofball. All right. And that kind of let it down for me. That is something I didn't like in it. However, Guy Pearce, I love Guy Pearce, right? I really like Guy Pearce as an actor. He is phenomenal, very underrated. Go check out his filmography from Memento all the way through Prometheus, LA Confidential, Iron Man, anything that's got Guy Pearce in. He is a standout performance from anything that he's in. There, I said it. And he is again brilliant as Aldrich Killian in this. But then you see, it's a character that's introduced in this film and then disappears from this film. That's it. Now, the consequences of his actions and what he worked on will be felt going forward, definitely, even in these new phases that are coming out in 2023. We are still feeling the effects of Extremis, which is what Aldrich Killian was working on in Iron Man 3. And it all comes back to this film. So this film is definitely worth watching if you're a completist and you want to understand and know the full story of the Infinity Saga and now the Multiverse Saga here in 2023. So, what was I saying? Oh yes, Sir Ben Kingsley, the Mandarin. There's a nice little one shot that they did called All Hail the King, which does serve as kind of course correction for their misstep in messing about with this character because of the backlash, and because I don't know if that was their plan all along, but it served as a nice little thing, because that leads then into another film which we'll get to as we move along our little review series. So what have we got in this film? We've got some great action sequences. We've got some fantastic in-depth look and dealing with PTSD, trauma, anxiety, mental health and all that, as I've already mentioned. We've got some really good set pieces, although they do seem a bit far-fetched. We've got Iron Patriot. Okay, I'll still refer to him as War Machine because it's so much better. But Iron Patriot, okay, you got President Ellis, which will be a character that will play a part, much more of a part, later down the MCU. And you've got Rhodey, you've got the nice, great, fantastic action sequence with the plane, Air Force One. You've got the fantastic, I keep saying that word because it's just the only word I can think of. It's really good. The epic, all right, there's a different word. The epic battle sequence at the end on the docks with the ships and the containers and all the suits that my son loves so much. And they are very well executed, but it does feel a bit paint by numbers. It's a bit, you know, what do we need in this film? Okay, tick, 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 tick. How can we make it interesting? I know, we'll have a twist where the Mandarin won't be the Mandarin. Yeah, didn't work. So, Iron Man 3. Last in the Iron Man trilogy. What else can I say about it? Yeah, not my favourite film, not my favourite MCU film. Bit of a letdown, other than the mental health side to it. And then it's bookended with a post-credit scene that shows that Tony is actually telling this story to Bruce Banner. And Bruce comments that, yeah, I'm not that kind of doctor. Because he thinks he's a therapist and he's not. But anyway, that's the film in a nutshell. So the 4K disc. Really enjoyed it. The pictures look great, the sound looks great. I was actually pleased because there's a scene right at the beginning of the film. I've never noticed this before. And I'd like to say it's because of the 4K disc. But I suppose if I go back and watch my digital copy, it may be there as well. Maybe I just haven't noticed it before. But there's a scene at the beginning where Pepper is talking to Tony about his suits, and she says, "Oh, what is that, number 12? And Tony looks at the arm or part of the suit, and actually says 42 on it. And you can see it clear as day. It's the Mark 42. I've often wondered how people know that it's the Mark 42. But it actually says it on his thing, and you can see it so clearly in this. It's a 2-disc set, basically. You've got the 4K disc, you've got a Blu-ray, and it's got some special features on, including the one-shot, okay? So if you can get hold of that, definitely do. I'm going to say that on every single one of these reviews because that's the whole point of me doing them. I'm going back to films that are so many years old, over a decade old at this point. And basically the reason I'm doing that is because physical media, if you want to watch them in the best way possible, physical media, there's no buffering, there's no loss of quality, no compression, and you get the best sound and the best picture. So yes, Iron Man 3, 4K disc. I'm going to score the film, as I said earlier, 6.5 to 7 out of 10. And that's being generous for me because I only score it as that because of the mental health and the PTSD and all that sort of dealing with all that depiction within the film. I thought that was so well done, and I thought it was a brilliant way to show the consequences of what the character Tony has gone through at that point. And it also serves to illustrate and highlight once again the massive character building that Marvel do. Okay, so love or hate this film, that is a brilliant aspect, and it's something a lot of other studios could learn a lot from. So 6.5, 7 out of 10. It's not the best, it's not the worst. Give it a watch. Yeah, Iron Man 3 4K disc. Thank you for your time. Thank you for clicking on this video. I hope to see you on the next one. Drop a comment down below. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think his depiction of PTSD... I don't suffer from PTSD, at least I don't think I do. I do have anxiety and I do have other mental health issues. You know, I do feel depressed now and again, but I don't suffer from depression. If you do, there is help out there, okay? Mental health matters. Talk to someone, okay? There is always somebody you can talk to, a family member, a friend, the Samaritans. You know, there is so many places that you can talk to, and I am sure that people would rather you talk to them than have them attend your funeral if things are so bad. So please, if you're feeling stressed and you're feeling down and you're struggling, talk to someone, okay? Reach out and there will be someone there. I'll put some links in the description. So please drop me a comment down below. What do you think? And thank you for your time. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. And remember, you are worth it and you are loved by the people around you. Have a good day.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, drop us a like and subscribe to see all future content.